Joni Lamb's friends and critics with some major news. Major legal issues are plaguing Doug Weiss and his wife Joni Lamb, according to Weiss. The news just broke, shocking the media and leaving many to wonder what the Lamb family's future holds, especially with Joni still in legal hot water. How does what he said impact Daystar's trajectory? This story is capturing everyone's attention as it unfolds. Before they finally gain traction, rumors about Joni Lamb's legal troubles and potential jail time persisted for weeks. There were only rumblings about shady financial dealings and shady business deals at first. As time progressed, the stories became increasingly robust and detailed. The assumptions that others had made about her started to be challenged. Having started Daystar from scratch, Joni became the public face of Christian television. Her accusers were now making claims that didn't add up. Initial murmurs suggested an issue with the network's finances. Word on the street was that there were serious financial issues and that some individuals were making off with funds meant for outreach and charity. People couldn't believe Joni Lamb, who had dedicated her life to spreading the values of faith, trust, and generosity, could be involved in such things. However, more specifics were included as the stories progressed. Speculation about shadowy dealings, tax evasion, and offshore accounts began to circulate. Despite her claims that she wanted to help others, Joni was allegedly hiding large sums of money in offshore accounts. Charges were eventually filed in response to the rumors, and the news spread rapidly. Rumor has it that investigators have uncovered evidence of financial fraud. Fans had put their faith in Joni to use their donations to spread the message, but they claimed she was misusing them. Some even went so far as to claim that she was spending the money on nice things, like expensive houses and vacations, rather than the Christian church she had promised. Those who were rooting for Joni would first refuse to believe it. She was well loved and respected by her fellow Christians for all the work she did to spread the gospel through Daystar. Someone who seemed so forthright and genuine all the time. What could have happened to them? But as I listened more, doubts started to creep in. The inquiries regarding her financial management became more difficult to disregard. May the things being said actually be true? Did everyone think Joni was a perfect girl? Upon learning of her involvement with illegal activities, her fans were taken aback. A lot of people were shocked, furious, and confused. False reports surfaced and intensified as the case progressed in court. If the accusations were proven, some even thought Joni might end up in prison. Her potential sentencing for financial crimes appeared implausible, but those following the case perceived it as a genuine possibility. Both the volume and velocity of the whispers were increasing. As they dispersed, the truth appeared to be receding further and further away. Opinions were divided. Many people rallied behind her, claiming the accusations were an attempt to depose her, but others felt betrayed. Many things would change with Joni Lamb and her influence as a result of these reports. She will probably end up in prison, according to Doug Weiss. As Joni Lamb's husband, Doug Weiss, was renowned for his steady demeanor, unwavering support, and self-assuredness when discussing matters of faith and family. That is, until he learned of the grave charges leveled against Joni. Doing that was the most difficult thing he had ever faced. Everyone who had been following their work for years was shocked by the claims of fraud, tax evasion, and bad management of Daystar funds, and it even shook their family. Doug was bewildered because he had always been a man who would sacrifice everything for his family. For the sake of both Joni and the truth, Doug knew he had to speak up. He knew firsthand the feelings she was experiencing as a result of the accusations, anxious, afraid, and overwhelmed. The strong, intelligent woman who had represented Daystar, Joni, was now battling for her independence, dignity, and destiny. As soon as he spoke, it was evident that Doug was defending more than just her actions. He was defending the woman he loved, and he felt terrible about her. The media picked up on Doug's shocking remark, in which he discussed the mounting pressure and the very real possibility that Joni would go to jail. Doug was forced to confront the harsh reality of the situation as the court battles escalated and additional evidence was presented. As he described Joni's struggle to cope with the gravity of the charges, he maintained an emotionally detached but articulate tone. Joni has always been someone who gives, who serves, who puts others before herself, he added. He sounded steady, but his sadness was palpable. The woman I love and know, who has devoted her life to religion and service, is now facing accusations that go against all she stands for, and we're in a fight neither of us saw coming. Doug continued, attempting to control his emotions, but it was obvious that the prospect of Joni's incarceration was weighing heavily on him. This isn't just about Joni. The allegations of financial fraud and tax evasion are a tragedy for all those who have stuck by us throughout the years, not only our family. We are aware of the gravity of the situation and are making preparations. I want everyone to understand this. Joni is not who these accusations portray her. Rather, she is a woman of unwavering faith and integrity who has consistently operated out of love and service. This is about more than just her. The truth will come out, Doug said with a firm voice. Joni will fight these charges, and we believe that the truth will win in the end. A lot of people had faith in us, helped us, and trusted us over the years. Despite his desire to shield his wife from the harsh reality, he knew they had to confront it head on. And there were many who did just that, however. The reality remains that our family is going through a difficult and uncertain period. Doug knew a great deal was at stake. The claims against Joni were about more than just money. They were about trust. Every day we live in fear that she will be taken from us and sent to prison. But we also know that we must not give up. We must believe that there is a purpose to this, even though we do not comprehend it at this moment. Believe her on a personal level. As the leader of Daystar and a religious figure, many of their followers looked up to Joni as a role model and a rock. The idea that she could be involved in such a serious financial crime hurt many. Doug had witnessed the speed with which the rumors spread and the way the media jumped on the scandal, distorting every word and deed to suit their narrative. He also knew that the road ahead would be long and filled with more problems than they could possibly solve. Doug informed them that the court case was ongoing, discussing the presented evidence, the alleged links between Joni and offshore accounts, and the allegations that she had misappropriated funds. There has been no evil purpose or deliberate wrongdoing. All that we have done and built has been for the benefit of others. Neither of us is a criminal nor a con artist. These are not minor charges. We are aware of their gravity. However, we also know that Joni is innocent. This is just the beginning of our lifelong journey of service to others. Doug's speech was a rallying cry for their supporters, not merely an effort to shield Joni from harm. He was aware that the coming months would be filled with concerns, inquiries, and additional anecdotes, but he was also aware that they needed help. I ask for your prayers, your support, and your faith, said he. Joni is going to need all of that in the coming weeks. This is a fight for the truth, and we believe that the truth will set us free. As the weeks passed and the trial began, things continued to deteriorate. Doing triple duty as a husband, dad, and public figure was challenging for Doug. Managing the scandal's aftermath while being there for Joni and their children was a challenge for him. Even though he felt the weight of the world pressing down on him, he maintained his belief that they would succeed. Doug kept believing that the truth would prevail in the end, even though they lived in continual fear that Joni would go to jail. Doug's undying devotion to Joni remained unshaken throughout. He was her pillar of support and protector, always there for her. He was aware that their lives would be drastically changed, but he hoped that their faith would strengthen them to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The road to recovery would be long for both individuals and companies, but Doug was resolute in his commitment to accompany Joni every step of the way. He was cognizant of the fact that the family would be compelled to confront the outcomes collectively, regardless of the outcome in court. They were really worried that if they went to prison, they would lose all they had accomplished. Strong and committed to the truth, they loved one another and had faith. The news of Joni Lamb's legal troubles and the charges against her reached her family like a tsunami, and the public's reaction was no different. It caused them to doubt their entire worldview. For years, Joni had been their family's pillar, providing the inspiration, courage, and faith that had allowed them to start Daystar from scratch. Her life appeared stable, at least to those who were unaware of her inner turmoil. Everything was now up for grabs because she was facing accusations of fraud, tax evasion, and financial misdeeds. Her loved ones couldn't take their eyes off the situation. They were all shocked. Gloria, being Joni's sister, took the brunt of the criticism. She had known Joni from her days as an ambitious young woman to her current position as a powerhouse in Christian media, and she had been by her side every step of the way. Never in Gloria's wildest dreams did she imagine that she would be the rock her sister needed during a scandal that threatened to drive a wedge between their family. The idea that all they had labored for could now crumble devastated her. Their shared mission was something of which she was very proud of Joni. However, Gloria refused to abandon her. In spite of the public accusations, she stood by Joni and assured anyone who would listen that her sister was innocent. This is all a misunderstanding, Gloria would insist time and time again, even when her closest friends and family began to raise doubts and questions. It was unbelievable to her that someone would speak ill of Joni, who had dedicated her life to serving others, spreading the gospel, and helping others. The children were also severely injured. At first, the news was too much for Joni's son Ben to bear. He admired his mother and aspired to be just like her from a young age. The realization that she was facing serious accusations hit her like a ton of bricks. He was perplexed as to how this could befall her. Ben had always admired his mother as a rock-solid Christian whose faith was unshakable. But with the charges coming out, he was finding it difficult to maintain that image while still being truthful. He was at a loss for words for days. He reflected on the recent upheaval in his life for hours. In addition to being hurt and furious, he had no idea what to do. Whatever the case may be, he never lost faith in his mom. The woman he had spent his formative years with couldn't possibly be responsible for the accusations leveled against her, in his opinion. He remained by her side even as his classmates and friends began to ask him uncomfortable questions. The anguish felt by Suzanne, Joni's daughter, was as intense as the noise she made. She had witnessed her mother's selfless contributions to society. She genuinely cared about helping others and never put herself first. Although Suzanne had great respect for her mother, she was unsure of how to react to the current situation. Even though she was well known from her childhood, this was her first experience with anything of this kind. The constant speculation, whispers, and scrutiny were overwhelming for her. She disconnected from the media in an effort to escape the constant barrage of questions and remarks. In private, Suzanne leaned on her loved ones, particularly her father, Doug. When times were bad, he was the one who was there for her. Even Doug struggled to maintain composure. With no idea of what lay ahead, Suzanne and her family were all filled with fear. Just as divided was the public's reaction. Many of my friends were taken aback at first. They couldn't make sense of what they were listening to. Joni Lamb, a woman they had always admired, was now embroiled in a scandal? For a long time, Joni had been seen as Daystar's public face and the epitome of the positive aspects of Christian television and radio. Her admirers had praised her virtue, devotion, and strength. Many fans who had followed Joni and Doug from the beginning of Daystar felt betrayed by the news that she was facing charges of theft and poor financial management. They were the pioneers in voicing support for her. The claims were so unbelievable that they refused to believe Joni could be involved in anything bad. Numerous admirers expressed their solidarity on various social media platforms. One fan wrote, "We stand by you, Joni." Another added, "No matter what the media says, we know who you are. You've given so much to us, and we will always have your back." Joni wasn't merely a TV star to these fans, she was a role model, an inspiration, and someone who had changed their lives for the better. They were perplexed by the assertions. There must have been some oversight, they reasoned, and everything would be explained shortly. Nevertheless, not all were in agreement with them. As time passed and more details emerged, opinions regarding the study shifted. Serious inquiries were being made. Someone in such a prominent public position must be up to some sort of nefarious enterprise. Someone who preached integrity and faith could not possibly be involved in shady financial dealings. Opinions began to diverge as more details emerged. The claims were so unbelievable to many fans, particularly those who had been following Joni's career for quite some time. They shielded her from harm because they couldn't fathom that their idol could have deceived them to such an extent. Still, there were many who felt tricked. They had followed Joni's instructions because they trusted her. This time, it seemed like the trust had been shattered. An online commenter who had previously supported her asked, "How could we have been so wrong about her?" Another added, "I've been lied to for years." As news of the case and investigation spread, news outlets also began to take sides. Different news outlets chose to highlight the allegations and their details, while others focused on the direct impact on Joni's family. The media's tendency to sensationalize seemingly insignificant events further exacerbated existing divisions. Reports in the media made readers question whether Joni could ever move past the scandal and restore her reputation. It was even questioned by some news outlets whether she could manage to avoid jail time. Going to jail for Joni Lamb, who was popular and well-liked in the Christian world, was something that many people couldn't bear. The Lamb family went through a terrible and trying period. It was all on Doug Weiss, who was the rock-solid, helpful husband. His roles as a husband and father appeared to hold greater significance for him than his fame. Doug had always found it challenging to live in the spotlight, but this was different. All aspects of their lives, including their past, present, and destiny, were implicated in the accusations leveled against Joni. He felt compelled to protect his children from the fallout, even though it pained him to watch his wife publicly shamed. The strain of it all was visible on his face, despite his best efforts to maintain his usual composed demeanor. Doug felt obligated to support Joni, but he was ill-prepared for what lay ahead. Would they be able to maintain their marriage? Could Daystar survive this? After everything had passed, how would they spend the rest of their lives? The family found themselves swept up in the midst of a news cycle that was becoming increasingly chaotic. It appeared as though the general consensus shifted daily. While some remained faithful to Joni, others began to question whether they had placed too much trust in her prematurely. There would be a lot of uncertainty in the days to come for the Lamb family. They felt as though the world was writing their story from their perspective, even though they had always had some control over the narrative. Nobody knew what was coming next or how it would all turn out. Would this problem always be associated with Joni, or could her reputation be repaired? Having served her fans for decades, they had come to trust her. Would they continue to back her,